Emily, could you introduce Let Them Live to us? That'd be great.
Yes, I can. Well, I'm Emily. I'm the president of Let Them Live. I'm also a co-founder. My husband and I started Let Them Live. We officially became a nonprofit about 2 years ago, and we, when we started Let Them Live, we discovered that 73% of women have abortions because of financial reasons, and we knew that 100% of those abortions were preventable. So that's how Let Them Live was formed. We do financial support for women facing those crisis pregnancies, those unexpected pregnancies that are in like major financial distress, and we help them cancel their abortions and choose life.
I just think that's amazing. I love it so much. It's like so wholesome and also practical, like it, and heartfelt. It's great work. Yeah, yeah. Also, shout out to you because I would not know who Let Them Live is if it were not for all of you. So thank you
Yeah,
for
that's
telling me.
cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
It's awesome too because we put a lot of time and effort into our social media, and a lot of people find us on Instagram, and that's where most of our donors come from. So it does mean a lot to see that the efforts we put into like advertising for Let Them Live is paying off. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Zelly's in the chat. Zelly the hamster. She says, "Hi, Emily. This is Tweak." Zelly is, I think
oh
it.
hi, yep.
Um, yeah, she and I think Zelly. Was there somebody else that also brought up? I think somebody else brought you guys up, and then Zelly just like started fangirling.
Oh
And
yeah, she messaged me on Facebook too. I was like, hey, what's up?
did she really? Someone else did. That's amazing. I love it. Yes. Well, great. So I'm super excited to learn a little bit more about you. I wanted to ask, how did you get involved in the pro-life movement?
Yeah, when I was, well, I've always been pro-life. I'm sure, like many of you, growing up in like a Catholic household, we were just told like that we're pro-life. But I don't think it was ever really brought up like why or what abortion is. And maybe that's just in part because I don't think abortion, like the abortion debate was like super hot when, I was younger. But once I got to college, um, for some reason, just one day I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get more involved. So I went and I looked for like a Students for Life group. There was one, but it wasn't like super active. So I kind of took it over. And through that, I just started getting really passionate about the pro-life cause. I started like skipping classes and like just to do like pro-life activism on campus. Like it took over my whole life. And I distinctly remember a call I had with my parents. It was like my junior year. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to be a veterinarian anymore because I'm going to be a pro-life activist. And they were like, what? Like, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And they're like, I mean, it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started. And then I went to work for the Leadership Institute after I had graduated college. And that's like a pro-life conservative organization that helps like college students be more active on their campus with like pro-life and conservative groups. And that's where I met my husband. And soon after that, I had gone into a job with like political consulting, like fundraising consulting for campaigns, and I absolutely hated it. It was so boring, and it was like a typical 9 to 5, and I just did not like it. So I was like, all right, screw it. Let's start a pro-life organization and Let Them Live. It started out as like a general pro-life organization. We didn't really know exactly what would make us different than everybody else. But we knew that, with a lot of prayer, God would lead us in the right direction. And one night, like super late, it was like 3 a.m. Nathan and I had just gotten married, a couple months before, and we didn't have a lot of money. I think we had $1,200 like in our bank account. And he found this girl on Facebook who was saying her cousin had an abortion scheduled. So Nathan had reached out and said, well, hey, why does your cousin have an abortion scheduled? And it turns out it's because she couldn't pay her bills. And so we actually emptied our bank account and paid her bills for her, and she canceled her abortion. And that was like the light bulb moment that we had been waiting for, that we knew that God was going to give to us, because it was in that moment that we were like, holy crap, There are probably more women out there like this, and there are probably people out there that are willing to contribute to this. And then that's just how it started from there. And I mean, it has just snowballed into this really amazing organization. I know I'm biased, but we have the best team. It started out with just Nathan and I, but now we have like 12 full-time employees and like 6, people who work with us as independent contractors, and we have hundreds of volunteers. Like, it's just crazy where it has gone. So that was a little bit more, but
No.
I mean, once you're involved in the pro-life movement, it's hard to do anything else, because once you are shown the truth and once you know what is happening, how can you ever do anything else,
Yeah, no, that's okay. So in that story, what was it like to rejuvenate a pro-life club? Like, was that rough? Did that come naturally?
It was interesting. I think for me, it came naturally in the sense that I'm kind of a natural leader. Like, I'll just kind of come in and I will not like take charge in a bad way, but if I see that there's not really anybody stepping up, like, I'll be the one to do that. Sure. So for me, the biggest challenge was just getting the club members that were already there, like, to convince them to actually go onto campus and do things. So they were intent on just staying at the church and doing church related programs. And I kind of came in there and shook it up, and I was like, guys, the people at church like are already pro-life. So if you want to make a difference and you want to impact people, like, we have to go to campus. We have to talk to people about abortion. We have to open people's minds, because college campuses are so not pro-life. Yeah. And, even if people don't know their position on abortion in college, they're going to just tend to side with like the pro-choice side. So we definitely like had a responsibility to be there, and we did amazing. Like, I grew the Students for Life Club. Eventually it was just like, there was like 25 or 30 people in it. It was a total rejuvenation. We actually had a presence on campus. Like, we were in the school newspaper all the time. I ended up suing the university over like a free speech issue related to our club. So that got like into everything. I mean, I was super passionate, and I think that's really what got it going. But I know how scary it is to be pro-life on a college campus. It's like really scary. But at the end of the day, I was reminded of the unborn and their mothers and how much they needed me to speak up for them. And then all that fear went away. I used to be so scared to stand outside of like Planned Parenthood. And then I was like, all right, God, I need some courage and fortitude. Let's go. And I think he gave it to me like in abundance.
That's
because now we are,
That's amazing. I love it. Wow. What was one of your like first projects that you guys did as a club? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think, this is a really good one. I mean, we did a bunch of tabling events and different things like that, but one of the coolest ones that we did, and that this will just stick with me forever, is we had a display about why tax dollars shouldn't go to Planned Parenthood, but should instead be like routed to federally qualified health centers. It was an amazing, like, we had banners, we had displays, we had everything. And we had a little like box and some things that like tokens or whatever that you could vote if after we talked to you, hey, what do you think? Should tax dollars still go to Planned Parenthood, or should they go to federally qualified health centers? And we actually got a Planned Parenthood volunteer to vote that tax dollars should not go to Planned Parenthood, but should go to federally qualified health centers. So that was like a major turning point where I realized that we actually...
Sending lots of love to you all, praying for you, friends.
I forgot to mention, we have a library of sound effects.
Oh, gotcha. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting screamed at.
Yeah, no, it's, wannabe NPC. I'm so sorry. It's for most streamers, like, there's a sound effect for bits, and it's, something that you hear, but also it's a little bit, discreet. But I have various specific amounts tied to specific sound effects.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I'm not like a streamer, but this is cool. I'm learning so much.
But yeah, wannabe NPC, thank you so much for the 100 bits. And also the anonymous cheer, thank you for the 99 bits. Bits are, they're like pennies, basically. And they're ways that people can show, they can cheer on streamers and show support. I Chad, I mentioned this before, but all our revenue is going to be lumped together and be donated to, for all of Lent, all of our revenue is going to be donated to Let Them Live. And I'm pretty excited.
That's going to help save so many babies. I mean, literally every dollar raised like translates into a life saved from abortion. And I think that's the cool part about Let Them Live, is that it's such a direct like result. So when somebody donates to Let Them Live, you see the results of that like throughout a woman's pregnancy. You can get updated on ultrasounds, but then at the end of that, a child is born. Like to have a donation like turn into a child being born is just like, it's like so direct. And it's honestly, I mean, obviously, like I said before, I'm biased, but I do think this is like the coolest thing to do, because I mean, I love it as my job, but it just feels like it's not a job. I mean, saving lives, connecting people with moms, like it's just crazy.
What's that like talking to donors, and how do you share stories, and what's that like for them? This is a rather frazzled question, but does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's an awesome experience, because I think sometimes, or I used to, when talking to donors, I get kind of nervous because I'm like thinking I'm talking to this person, you know, like that I don't know, that, you know, I have to impress them somehow or something like that. But ultimately, I'm just talking to people like that share like the same passion as I do. They just share a love for women and their unborn children. And at the end of the day, if I can just like, you know, convey my passion to donors, like they know when they talk to Nathan and I that we are totally in this. You know, it's just an amazing experience to talk to donors. I mean, we have donors that there's a donor that literally prints off every single one of our emails that comes in with like ultrasounds and pictures and things of the moms. Like she has a scrapbook, like a Let Them Live scrapbook. She named it her Let Them Live scrapbook. Like everybody, all of our donors are so proud of Let Them Live, and they are like part of our family. So we have a major relationship with all of our donors. We are in constant contact with them. We also have some of our moms. So some of our moms that are comfortable with it, we actually hire them on as independent contractors, and they make calls to donors. So they will actually connect on the phone and even in person with donors that supported them during their pregnancy. So that provides like a really personal level of like, hey, just so you know, I didn't have an abortion and it was because you donated to me. And that is like just the most amazing thing that we started doing. And I've gotten nothing but positive feedback from donors. They're like, holy crap, I can't believe, like they'll text me or leave us a message or something saying, I cannot believe I just talked to a mom, you know, they're like little celebrities. And it also helps the mom, you know, it gives her a job that she can do at home and on her own time. And so it's just really amazing all around. Our donors are amazing people. Yeah, I mean, without them, we wouldn't exist. So.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, there's so many charities, and I just love how you can really bridge that gap of where the money is going and how it's making a difference. That's powerful.
Yeah. Well, and on that note too, like I just thought about this, about bridging the gap. Surprisingly enough, this is not something that I ever would have thought would happen, creating a pro-life organization, but we actually have a lot of pro-choice supporters and donors. My husband just earlier this year talked to a donor. I think he lives in the UK, but like he's like, I am adamantly pro-choice, but he's like a monthly donor to us. Like we have, it's just wild, like what kind of pro-life organization has people from both sides that support you. And I think that this is like really cool, because I do think that we can all come together to support women, like, and help them choose life. And I think that this is a really good way to have pro-choice people maybe see that we're not like these crazy, like religious people that, you know, hate women and just want to make them slaves to, you know, their bodies or whatever they say. You know what I mean? I think this is giving everybody an opportunity to say like, look, let's put the politics aside and let's help women where they're at.
Yeah. Can you talk more on that? Like, what's it like to, those conversations can start about abortion can be so sensitive to start with. How do you start a conversation like that? How do you create those connections? What sorts of things can you do?
It's about finding common ground, because at the end of the day, you really just want to find, all right, well, what do we have in common? Like, what can we agree on? And I think that is always the key. Like whenever I do a debate or anything like that, that's like literally my main goal. And sometimes it ends up being not so much of a debate as like a discussion on everything we agree on, especially as like the president of Let Them Live. It's almost like impossible for anyone who calls himself pro-choice or pro-abortion to disagree with what we do, because if they're truly pro-choice, right, they would be open to another choice, which is what we provide. I just had a debate with someone who is like pretty pro-abortion, like literally up and after birth, like if the umbilical cord is attached, like pretty out there. And she was like, if I ever come across women that need help, like I will send them your way, Emily. And I was like, that's cool. And she was like, well, I want to start an organization where I financially help women have abortions. And I was like, I can't reciprocate. I can't send women your way, but hey, send them our way. Send all of them our way, you know. But it was cool to hear somebody who I fundamentally disagree with say, I'll work with you, you know. And I think that's just a really cool opportunity that we have, because I think for so long it's just fighting. But at the end of the day, the woman is the one walking into that abortion clinic. And I can guarantee you that she's not thinking about Republican, Democrat, this law or that law, you know, this state senator or like she's not thinking about anything except for the situation she's in and how she's going to handle that. And so I think if we can all come together to silence kind of like the noise that's going on, we can actually like reach this mom and save her child's life.
Yeah, I just love that. I think that's amazing. Yeah. Folks that are really good at creating more dialogue in this world. It's about so many topics, and especially pro-life. I love it. Yeah. I wanted to, you talked about, so you more or less started a pro-life club, and then you started a pro-life organization. Was that similar? Was that different?
Oh man, I think I think that when you're doing a club, it's so part-time. It's not even part-time. It's like less than part-time, because it's kind of something you do in your free time. I mean, you can definitely put a lot of effort into it. But it's so much more low key, but I think that builds your passion up. But I will say, like, starting an organization has brought me out of my comfort zone, like 100%. Like, it's dropped me off in another continent. My degree is in biology, but I literally am like a business person now, which is weird. So when Nathan and I started, we did everything. We did pregnancy counseling, we did donor relations, you know, we managed the back end of things, like of the nonprofit, making sure all the paperwork is there. Like, we did everything, but now we have a whole team. So I'm doing much less of like pregnancy counseling, and I'm not really doing donor relations unless it's like a really big donor that I've had a connection with for a long time. But now I find myself doing a lot of things on the back end. I mean, there's a lot of speaking and stuff like that. But I'm kind of the human resources department right now. I'm kind of like the financial person right now. I'm, making sure that everything's looking good. I'm making sure that as a nonprofit, we're going to be ready for grants, that we are just looking good in general, that our 990s look good, that our annual report comes out every, just things like that, like boring stuff, but there's a purpose behind it. So I would definitely say, like, compared to a club, it's much deeper. It's much more work. You're dealing with laws and compliance. And there's things I never knew. Like, if you have employees, you have to have workers' comp insurance. Just found that out. You know what I mean? Like, things that I just never even knew. I'm learning. And it's a process. Like, it's an exhausting process. But at the end of the day, what I have to remember is why I'm doing that. So I always get lost in the work. Like, I'll always get lost in those 14-hour days that I work, or like in the paperwork or the mess or the government or the, all the red tape. But then when I get to visit a mom and her baby, like we just visited one of our moms, she was filming for our documentary. Her name's Jackie. I was holding her baby. His name is Sabbath. And she was filming, and I was back in the bedroom at our Airbnb, and he was sleeping on my chest as I was working. And I just was crying because I was like, I'm thinking about all those days at the office when I'm doing paperwork and just all this background stuff. And then I'm like holding him, and I'm like, all right, this is why I'm doing this. Like, this is the reminder I needed to just keep plugging on. We can get lost in that noise, but when you hold a baby that was like this close to being aborted, it changes your whole life.
Yeah, that's wow. Clara in this chat says, actually her name is Clara, but I call her Clara. I can't, I can't stay longer, but this is so amazing. Thank you, Emily.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's yeah. That's so. Also, since I'm distracted, chat. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I'm trying to keep an eye.
About how we like have women, like how we attract women to let them live. I think I saw that question.
Oh yeah, I completely missed that. Yeah, in the current work, is this the question? In the current work you are doing, how do you attract the attention of women/couples in these precarious financial situations so that you are able to help? Yeah, you're attentive.
A good question. Yeah, it is. It's like one of the most common questions. So we have partnerships with pregnancy centers, sidewalk counselors, and so a lot of women come through referrals. So a lot of pregnancy centers don't necessarily have like the financial means to provide some of the major financial support that we can provide. So we partner with them to make sure they have that in-person support as well as our support. We also have women that just come to us through social media. Maybe we had a woman back in November or December, I think. She was actually at Planned Parenthood like 1 minute before going back to have her abortion, and she got on her phone and she was just scrolling through like the explore part of Instagram, and she saw one of our posts.
Wow.
So then our pregnancy counselor, like, she messaged us and we got in touch with her immediately, and she actually went to the bathroom and had a call with one of our pregnancy counselors, and then she left. So direct, like seeing our posts directly, like we've had a number of moms that just see our posts and then they reach out.
Wow.
And then we have a lot of women that maybe one of our followers has like a friend whose, you know, sister is pregnant or something like that. It just can come through so many ways. And we do have like a verification process, so we know that all of donor funds are being used and for women that really need it. But so many different ways women come to us, and we aim to help all of them. And our response time is immediate. So there's never any like unanswered women.
Where all can people contact you? Like you mentioned Instagram. I imagine I messaged you on Facebook.
Yep, Facebook. We have a Let Them Live Facebook. I haven't seen much activity from Twitter as far as women coming in. A lot of women email us. That's like pretty much the way that we get contact from them, or like I said, directly from like a sidewalk counselor or pregnancy center. We will get their information so that we can contact them, because we never want to just like leave it up to a mom. If we have the chance to reach out to her and say like, Hey, we're here for you, we definitely want to do that.
Yeah, that's what can we do to support your work if we don't have money to donate? From Zelly the hamster.
That's a great question. I love that question. That's a really great question. So definitely we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. That's always something that we're looking for, because if you can't donate money, donate time. I mean, for example, that's what Nathan and I did. We ran out of money when we started Let Them Live, and so we ended up just donating our time. And we also have an ambassador program that we're going to be starting, which is where you just work with Let Them Live and you just share like a couple social media posts every month, and you just basically spread the word about Let Them Live. You can go to your local pregnancy center. You know, we have a bunch of brochures we can give you if you want to spread the word about Let Them Live in your community. We can definitely like help more moms that way. You know, we can, if you're in like a college group, or you just in general want some like Let Them Live swag, we can always send you guys that stuff. I mean, I'm wearing one of my office sweatshirts tonight, but I usually wear my Let Them Live hoodies, or my like Let Them Live t-shirt. And so especially if you're like a college student and you have a group, I can send you like stickers and brochures and t-shirts and sweatshirts and all the good stuff. And you guys can just, you know, be an advocate for Let Them Live. And I don't know if this applies, but like I talked about, we do have volunteer opportunities, which I would say like 99% of the time turn into paid positions. So we start everyone off as volunteers, and then we see like, hey, you're doing an awesome job. Like, how would you like to, you know, join our team officially? So that's always something that we're looking for. If you ever want to work in the pro-life movement, there's some opportunities as well. So that's
amazing. Sweet. If you have links for any of that, let me know and I can post that in the Discord. For
You
if you
could
need.
just shoot me an email. We don't have any like public links about volunteer stuff yet, but you can definitely just throw my email in there. It's super easy. It's Emily@letthemlive.org.
Okay.
So always feel free to email me. And if there's a certain area that you want to volunteer in, I can shoot you over to the right person. And since we actually have a team now, which is cool.
That's great. Let me say, Emily is much better at communicating than I have ever been in my life. um, so yeah,
That's all.
very much impressed by that. OLS squares. There is no. You need to do that without a space. But goodness, thank you for that. Yeah, this is perhaps a more personal question, but I love to ask people. OLS square 1500 bits. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. I like to ask people about burnout and like the relationship between personal life and work life, and especially when you're doing work that is incredibly meaningful. How do you balance all that?
Really good question. That is 1,000,000% something that I struggle with, something that Nathan struggles with, something that I think our entire team struggles with, because like when you're so passionate about something, like how can you not be working on it? You know what I mean? It's really difficult. I will tell you that last month, Nathan and I went on a vacation. It was supposed to be a vacation to Florida. And it was awesome. We were taking a vacation, like we were on the beach, but we worked while we were in, we just can't not work because there's things that need to be done. There's, we do have a lot of people that work for us now. So it takes off a lot of our burden, but we find it really hard to just take a break. And I think part of me feels guilty in a way sometimes because I know, like, I just know what's at stake. And so if I like legitimately take a week off, it feels so weird. Especially, I mean, I work about 70 to 80 hours a week. And so when I take a break, I'm like, whoa, this is weird, but I also feel weird because I know what's at stake. So it is really difficult to balance work life and personal life, but it is so important because burnout is a very real thing, especially in this movement. It's high emotions, it's high intensity type stuff. Just with abortion, it's really intense stuff. So it's important to take time, like to do stuff for yourself and to, recharge, because if I am not like functioning correctly, if I'm having like just bad mental health because I've never taken a day off, I'm not going to be helpful to anybody else and this mission will not continue. So it is important to like recharge, and I definitely have to remind myself. My husband reminds me. I might be more of a workaholic than he is, but he literally will be like, you need to come home right now, like stop work, put it down, like do not do this. Like I check my email all the time. Like there's boundaries that I need to establish. I just haven't done that yet. So it is hard, but definitely, like I said, I won't be helpful to anybody else. I won't be helpful to moms or to their babies or to any of our employees who are helping these moms and babies if I don't have the energy to do that. So it's a weird balance, that's for sure. I'm still trying to figure out that balance though.
If you get any revelations in that area, please let me know, because I'm always.
It's hard because when you work a regular 9 to 5, sometimes you can just compartmentalize and you're like, all right, I'm at work from 9 to 5. But when you work for yourself or you start your own thing, you don't have set hours and you work at weird times, and so there's no like, it's just kind of like work while I live, you know what I mean? You just do it all the time. So I hope someday I have some sort of epiphany, but
we can pray. Do you happen to have any stories of teammates that might be going through like a hard time and how you were able to help them get back on their feet, if you will? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like some of the people that work for Let Them Live. Yeah, I think probably the area of Let Them Live, like the department that deals with the most is just the pregnancy counseling department. I remember like when Let Them Move started, the first mom that we like offered our support to, that we, you know, basically just said we will do anything. She was like the first mom to turn it down, and that was really, really tough. I think I cried for days. I think I just remember we went to adoration that night, and I was just bawling my eyes out, like hysterically, because like a life lost. Do you know what I mean? And you can't ever really like get over that. But I think over time, I didn't get more used to it, but I maybe became a little bit desensitized in the sense that I knew it's like a balance between mourning a life lost and then moving on, because the next mom needs you. She needs you to help her save her baby. So it's like a weird balance. And so I know our pregnancy counselors have all struggled with that, especially in the very beginning. Because if you know, they haven't experienced that before, where a mom they were counseling like directly had an abortion, that's a pretty intense thing. So that's something that I've been able to help share. And, you know, our directors of counseling, they have then in turn been able to share that with our other pregnancy counselors. Like, hey, I've been through this, and I know, and take the time to like grieve that life loss, but then remember that there's another mom that needs you too. And that is a chance for a life saved. So that is probably the biggest area where that happens. You know, but in general, I think we're all really just energized. We've had so many babies born lately, and whenever a new baby is born, I think it's just like a reset button on all of us, because it brings importance back to the daily like work that we do.
Yeah.
And Nathan and I have had even more like of a wild experience than anybody else on our team, because when we started Let Them Live, one of the moms that we had been counseling, she's the one, and that was in the video, Atoria, and her baby Kiari. She was 20 weeks pregnant, living in her car, homeless, like no one would help her. Father of her child abandoned her. She had a 2-day abortion scheduled, and then she planned to commit suicide by jumping off of a parking garage after. And she had, long story short, she had confided in us, and we took the next flight out from Indiana to California to be with her. And she canceled her abortion, and we became so close to her. We got her back on her feet, got her out of her car, and we were in a delivery room with her when her baby boy was born. And that was almost a year ago. So he'll be a year old on March 2nd. They actually lived with us last summer, so we got to see him grow. He's like a son to us, and he's like walking now, and he's like talking, and it's crazy. And we're going to see him. We're going to fly to California on March 1st to see him. And it's just crazy how time flies, because it was like a year ago I was in the hospital room with this little tiny baby, you know, now he's like this big boy. So it's like, it's just so different being a part of Let Them Live, because we're so involved in these lives, like so involved to the point where we're like second parents, you know? And I'm very, very blessed that God like led me here, because I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And it's just special. So things like that are a reminder to me, like, hey, you keep pressing on.
I love that. So I suppose, I mean, this feels obvious now, but I mean, Let Them Live is more than just we're getting money and moving it to where it needs to be. Like, these are relationships that you build, and like.
Oh, and like craziest thing too was the documentary that was, or the documentary segment that was just filmed with our mom Jackie. Her marriage was like almost gone. Her husband was going to leave her because of this pregnancy. I mean, it was really bad, but actually their marriage is like totally healed. So now the baby is here. He came around. We helped them kind of, I mean, the like the domino effect of lives saved is just massive. Not just the baby's life, but I mean, marriages are fixed and friendships are formed. And I mean, it's wild, really.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. It just keeps getting more amazing.
That was crazy stuff. I think Let Them Live is a testament. We're not a religious organization. We are a secular organization, but obviously like we're all very spiritual and we're all Christians, because I mean, there's no way we could do this work. It is a spiritual battle. But this is I think Let Them Live is just a testament in my life to, if you give God control, and you say, all right, I will do what you tell me to do, whether it's big or small or whatever it is, God will take whatever you imagine he's going to do and he'll blow it up like 100 times that. It's crazy what God will do. And I always had trouble letting go and letting God, but this is the biggest thing that has ever come out of that.
Yeah, you mentioned in one of your emails how we chatted a tiny bit about within the media, the pro-life organization movement is sometimes painted as a strictly religious experience, when of course it's not, but then also there are a lot of religious folks that are in the movement. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's interesting because we were super strategic when we started Let Them Live in deciding that we would be a secular organization, just because the space is crowded with a lot of religious pro-life, which is no problem at all. I think it's amazing. I think there's a lot of love there. But I did see, like in my work, that a lot of women didn't feel like they maybe belonged. So our goal wasn't necessarily to push one thing or another, except to be there for women. And we knew that if we had any certain stance, except for being anti-abortion and wanting to help women have another choice, that we may push other women away. So this is something we prayed about. And my dad had actually initially disagreed with me. And he was like, Emily, but you need to tell people that you know Jesus and you need to tell people about God. And I was like, Dad, but what if we do that? We show that in our actions. Like, what if in our everyday life, we do what Jesus did and we show women God and we show what a relationship with that can look like. We don't necessarily have to tell them, because I know a lot of women are going to be so resistant to that. And a lot of programs, we've had a lot of women come to us and say like, hey, I tried to do this program, but they wouldn't let me do the program unless I went to church with them and I didn't want to go to church with them. Mm-hmm. And we were like, hey, you don't have to go to church with us. We will help you no matter what. Like, you could be a Satanist and we would help you, because your baby is like, you and your baby are the priority here. Yeah. And I would hope that by the end of our relationship, which isn't really an end to a relationship, but I would hope through our relationship, they would, come to see something else. But a lot of our moms do want to talk about faith, but we let them kind of bring that up. But like I said, we just show God's love. We show Christ's love in our actions, and not necessarily having to be in our words. I don't think that God necessarily has to be talked about. I don't know. I just felt like God spoke to me one night and he's like, you don't have to say my name, just show my name. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so we've reached so many women that way. And I think that that's the name of the game. That's the goal, is to reach women and help them and help their babies. And if we can do that by, remaining secular, then that's what we're all for. And we also remain apolitical as well. We're not like one way or another. We're also C3, so we can't support politics like, any specific candidate. But, if a mom asks, we just don't really talk about that kind of stuff, because that's divisive stuff. Mm-hmm. And we don't want anything to come between or divide like our relationship with them. So we pretty much remain neutral on everything except for the abortion issue, or anything surrounding that. So
yeah, I appreciate that personally. I think that makes a lot of sense. I would like to say that I approve of your strategic decisions. You talked about leaps of faith and like trusting God. What's your relationship with risk, and how has that changed over time? Like, by nature, are you eager? Are you good at taking risk? Are you averse to taking risk, or how? And
I think good question. It's hard to like think about yourself. Like, I mean, it's hard if you're married, it's hard to think about yourself like before you were married. I think I was like an adventurer, like I was out for a lot. But Nathan is definitely a risk taker, like 1,000,000%. He's a risk taker if there ever was one. And that scares me sometimes, because he is like so far. But that, and my passion, and I am a risk taker. I'm not averse to risk. It just depends on what you're risking. You know what I mean? But that combined, like, is what launched Let Them Live. So I can't be too mad at him. And that's how we've like built our other businesses as well on the side. We own some property and things like that. So it's all because of his risk taking, which has turned out pretty well. But I think that you have to make risks. I mean, it really is a leap of faith, and it is scary. I mean, you don't ever like know the future. So, 3 years ago when we were starting Let Them Live, there's no way I would have known that this would have been like, this would have worked. But we worked every day as if like we knew for sure that this was gonna, be something. And we had little victories along the way, which kept making the risk worth it. But I mean, if you're ever wondering, like, any time in life, should I take the risk? I mean, if it's for something good, like, I'm not telling you guys to do anything bad and take a risk, but, just follow your heart and do it, because I think that, taking this jump was so worth it. And what do you have to lose? Do you know what I mean? What we have to gain is lives saved. Like, lives are on the line. That's what we had to gain when we started Let Them Live. What did we have to lose? Maybe some time. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we had failed, it really wasn't going to be the worst thing in the world. But if we succeed, oh my gosh, wow, the lives that could be saved. So you just have to weigh, everything. But yeah, I think taking risks, I can say like safely that it was a good risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got tattooed, one of our mottos, our kind of unspoken motto, comes from Schindler's List. At the end of the movie, Oscar Schindler, who saved over 1,200 Jews from the Holocaust, he essentially paid for their lives. So that's kind of where we got our motto from. They give him this ring, and it says, "Whoever saves one life saves the world entire." And I'll show you guys. We got our little tattoo, and I have a Let Them Live one right here too. But that is like what has led us every day and reminded us of the risk. Like, if you save even one life, if you take the risk to save even one life, you have changed and saved the entire world. The world is forever changed. Like, nothing will ever be the same. There's generations that are going to come from that one life. So when it comes to if you are sitting there listening to me and you're like, oh my gosh, like, should I get more involved in the pro-life movement? Do it. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for that voice in your head. It's scary. People will tell you you're not going to make money, or you're not going to be able to provide for yourself. And for some reason, that's always on the forefront of people's brains. When we were starting Let Them Live, Nathan and I lived in a fifth wheel trailer in the back of his family's business. We ate ramen and dollar menu Taco Bell for a long time. That's why we gained so much weight. No, just kidding. But it was rough. Like, our bank account kept going negative. We had $38 insufficient fund fees, like, smacking us all the time. It was rough. And a lot of people, my parents included, were super skeptical. They were like, oh my gosh, well, you need to pay your bills. You need to do this. And I was like, but what if I'm passionate about this? Yeah. What if I'm passionate? And God will defy all of that. Bills, no problem. Insufficient funds, like, those are all just small problems compared to the risk that could be taken. So ultimately, I think going through a lot to risk saving a life is totally worth it.
That's edifying. I'm highly risk averse, so I just need to hear that sort of thing every once in a while. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, that's. I
mean, I'm also the kind of person that dyes my hair pink and gets tattoos. So maybe you don't want my advice. I know. I just did this a couple days ago, and I came home, and Nathan's like, "What did you do?"
It looks great.
Thanks.
I love it. I was actually admiring it. I was like, oh, look at that.
No, it's not even down, but yeah, I got all the pink hairs.
Oh, I'm like, yeah, no, I will use that as an excuse. I'll be like, but Mom, the person from Let Them Live said I could do it. They said it was cool.
I mean, right? Like, hey, if I'm doing it, and
what are you going to say to that?
Right? Exactly. And, I think my tattoos like really tell a story about Let Them Live. And I have another tattoo, and it's a sunflower with it's like all black and white, and it has a couple of colored in petals right here. Those symbolize, the one is colored in, and it symbolizes that one life that is saved, and then it just expands into the world. It expands into the universe. And then the stem is Esther 4:14. And this is actually a verse that kept popping up. This was like my sign that I was on the right track. Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. This verse, I swear, it was the weirdest thing. It popped up one day. Somebody told me about it. Then I just kept seeing it like every single day. I heard it on the radio. My father-in-law got a book for his birthday. It was like conservative cartoon drawings. I flipped to a random page, and bam, Esther 4:14. Like, I'm telling you, I saw this on a billboard. Like, I see this everywhere. So if you're ever questioning like where you are in life or like what you're doing, like, we were all put here at this time for a reason. It's not an accident. It's not an accident that we're like on this Zoom call. Like, it's not an accident. So if you are like having a voice in the back of your mind wondering if you should take that next step or do something, like, this is it. Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. And that is just something to remember in your everyday life. Like, these are my reminders, you know, of why we do what we do. Sorry to deviate. I just get so passionate about it. Obviously, I inked it on my body.
So. No, that's because Esther 4:14 it was. I don't feel like that's a very common verse. So that's amazing that it would just appear for you a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's not like John 3:16.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about it. Like, you mentioned it and I was like, I don't know what that is. So I Googled it. It's not a common one.
Not like, and so when it was just appearing, I'm like, wow. I would like call Nathan and be like, Nathan, I just saw Esther 4:14. I'm like, I just saw it. Like, I'll text him all the time. I just saw it. Like, whoa. So, you know, it's just a great reminder that there is no accident, and we all have a purpose here. My purpose was leading Let Them Live. You know, other people's purpose, like, we have some big donors. Their purpose is to donate to make this happen. You know, like, we all have different roles, but it's a matter of finding what that role is and allowing God to show us what that role is, and being open and flexible to that.
I love it. Mr. Santucci says that's fantastic. Definitely signal graces. I'm realizing we didn't at all put any time constraints on this.
I'm sorry, I could talk forever.
Good. Well, good. All right. Well, then I'll keep going because I'm loving this, and I just don't want to, I don't know, corner you into talking for forever.
So.
Okay. Well, okay. You brought up how fundraising and how donors have their place. Fundraising, you mentioned this earlier too, and I definitely feel this. Fundraising is not something that most people are attracted to. And now this is what you do. How has fundraising been for you? What was your attitude originally, and what's it like now?
Gosh, it's crazy. I literally remember the moment because I was quitting my job doing fundraising because I hated it so much. I was like, I will never do fundraising. God, do not ever like make me do fundraising because this is not what I want to do. I never want to fundraise. So here we are. Fundraise 100% of everything we do. It's just funny. God is funny. You know, I think he knows our strengths and our weaknesses, and we think we know what those are. But luckily, I don't have to do the majority of the fundraising. Our fundraising team does that now. But definitely, it's a tough thing because you want to find a balance between like getting to know people and then asking them for money. You know, it's all about building relationships and cultivating relationships, getting them, you know, showing them that they're a part of this just as much as we are. You know, fundraising is a really interesting thing. But it is the lifeblood of Let Them Live and, you know, almost all other nonprofits. So it's a very important thing. And it's just a matter of showing people what your mission is and showing them why they should support it. And for Let Them Live, it's super easy because it's like, hey, you should support this because you're going to save a baby's life. And then bam, 9 months later, here's the baby that you saved. So we have it pretty easy in the fundraising realm. And I think that is such a blessing because, you know, when it comes to fundraising, you have to be passionate about what you're fundraising for. And I am definitely passionate. So I know for a fact I could call, you know, through our donor list or whatever, and make those calls. So I do feel more confident now than when we started Let Them Live as far as fundraising. But still, it's not my favorite thing to do. Yeah. So thankful that we have a team for that.
That makes sense. No, I remember someone once mentioned, I don't know where I got this, but a phrase that always comes to mind around fundraising is we give by going, they go by giving. And for what it's worth, that's always stuck with me. And I feel like Let Them Live really embodies that, you know, connecting the donors to the mission, and you putting in the time.
It's very much a partnership. I mean, we have a lot of donors that have high net worth, and that takes a lot of time to get to that. So I don't have that capability. Like, I don't have millions of dollars, but I do have passion and I have time.
Yeah.
And so when you pair that, that's like the perfect, like, it's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you know? You have all the ingredients. It's perfect. You bite into it. It's awesome. And it's just like the perfect pairing, you know, like wine and cheese or something. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because you have someone who's passionate enough to give you lots of money, and then you have someone who's passionate enough to put all their time into using that money correctly. And it's just amazing. So, and I think that's a very clear thing with Let Them Live. Maybe some other organizations kind of have that muddled, but with Let Them Live, it's a very clear mission. It's very clear what our, you know, entire team is doing. So
Yeah. That.
Just kidding.
Sorry, I missed that. What?
I said now I'm hungry for some PB&J.
I mean, I'm hungry for wine and cheese. Yeah,
Me too, Peter.
Let's have a wine and cheese party soon. Okay, there's two more questions that I really want to ask. The first was, so especially in the early days of being involved in the pro-life movement, is there anybody that you can think of that left a mark on you in terms of getting you excited and in terms of helping form how you articulate yourself, etc., and how you engage with all these things? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there's a couple of people. First and foremost, I've always had just such a great relationship, like through praying the rosary and stuff. And I just think back to, like, you know, praying outside the abortion clinic and how we'd always pray like the sorrowful prayers, but then I was like, I need to pray the joyful prayers for the joyful mysteries, because like that's when it talks about Jesus being an infant in the womb. And you know what I mean? Like, what a joyful thing to pray about outside the abortion clinic. Like, let's not be so sad and gloomy, okay? Like, this is something that, you know, is joyful. So, definitely just like Mary, always, you know, she's homegirl. And, you know, just that yes that she gave is amazing. And she's like the role model for pregnant women. And so that's like, you know, that's, I mean, obviously she's the OG. So, but a figure in the movement who I always looked up to, who's actually become a really good friend, which is amazing, is Lila Rose. She's amazing. She's always so poised, and I always looked up to her when I was in college because I was like, oh my gosh, she started this when she was 15. I mean, she's a total BA. Like, she is working it, and she's defending me on board, and she's fierce, and she's passionate, and I want to be like her. And like, okay, totally randomly, I mean, we just through our work, we've become good friends. But last year we were hanging out in California with our friend Teresa. We were supposed to be on a flight, but we missed our flight. And so we were hanging out with our friend Teresa, who's also good friends with Lila. And Teresa's like, hey, I need a ride to a meeting. We're like, oh, okay, well, we missed our flight, so I guess we'll drive you. Well, it was at Lila's house, and Lila was like, hey guys, come on in. So that was like really when we first got to sit down with her and talk with her. And there's just a lot of great partnerships coming up with Live Action and Let Them Live. And it's just a huge blessing. It's amazing. It's kind of like your typical, like, I was a fangirl, you know, and I looked up to this person and now we're friends, you know. It's just great to be able to work with someone who is so passionate and kind in the movement and work towards the same goal. And I think that she just really inspired in me what type of leader you should be in the pro-life movement. You should be one that seeks unity within the pro-life movement. You should be one that, you know, stands firm, but is also still compassionate and kind. And that's exactly what she was. And that's exactly what I hope I am. And she formed that for sure. So
this is an aside. I can't help myself. One of the Rachels In her life, the joyful mysteries keep coming up again and again and again and again. And so you bringing up the joyful mysteries.
Again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, I saw something on your face. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It's my Esther 4:14. Like I walk into a parish and look at the stained glass and be like, wow, oh, it's the joyful mystery. Cool. So I have
That's
like
awesome.
reflections on it that I wrote, but Peter and I host a rosary on Saturdays, which is the joyful mysteries, which is when they started coming up. So that's why we were giggling.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's actually really cool. Like I didn't even know that. So
Yeah.
It was a little moment where you were like, God will always let you know you're supposed to be where you are, and then he did.
You brought up the rosary and it was like, oh, joyful mysteries. And then you mentioned the sorrowful and then the joyful. I loved it. But okay, well, but
her fiat changed the world, and I'm thinking, I have a fiat. Like, what are you talking about? And then I just realized, like, it's late here, and I just totally am an idiot. I have a fiat. What are you talking about? Sorry,
The electric car really changes the world.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Yeah. Well, I love what you said about unity, though. I think.
Yeah,
I think
important.
that's.
If we're gonna take down this Goliath, I mean, we have got to work together. Like, no one organization can end abortion, like at all. It would be too much pressure, too much burden on everybody's shoulders. If I felt like I had the sole duty of ending abortion or let them live it, like I would be done. Like I'd be crushed. So we gotta pull our resources and work together.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Okay. The final question. I don't know if this is the final question because I really do want the Rachels to have a chance to talk, and Zelly and the rest of the chat. But I'm really curious if who's one of your favorite saints lately?
One of my favorite saints.
I sent you. This was one of the questions I sent you beforehand, so you had opportunities to prepare for this one.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who my favorite saint today is.
Yes.
I lost my phone this morning, and it has been gone all day. And I searched the house. I thought I threw it in the laundry machine because I've done that before. I literally have turned this house upside down, and I've got we're taking bets on how many text messages I have because it's a lot. I'm in a million group chats, and I'm freaking out, and I've got work to do. So I'm just like, all right, St. Anthony, let's go. Where is the cell phone? And my husband calls me. He's like, yeah, I just saw it on Find My iPhone. It's somewhere between our house and the office. And I'm like, oh, I put it on the hood of the car this morning.
Oh no.
St. Anthony always coming in clutch. I was literally 10 minutes before. I was like, you gotta find me this phone, man. Where is it? I have stuff to do. So then my husband calls, and I'm like, oh, gotcha.
That's amazing.
But all of that aside, my all-time favorite saints, I have two. The first and probably the most obvious is Saint Gianna, because she was giving birth, and it was basically between her and her baby, and she said, save my baby. What a testament of sacrifice. Holy crap. Because we've had moms, and there's so many people that say, well, just I need to protect myself, and there's just no sacrificial love right there to protect a child. So that is obviously the biggest one. She's just, wow, of course she's a saint. Anybody who does that is a saint. The other saint that is a favorite of Nathan's and mine, and it is kind of in relation to Oscar Schindler and the Holocaust, is Maximilian Kolbe. And Maximilian Kolbe, I just love him. What a great guy. I mean, he was saying mass in secret, in the concentration camp, and he literally was if I'm getting this right, it's been a while since I've read up on him, but he was selected to die because someone had tried to escape, and they had then randomly selected like people to die for that one person that was trying to escape. And actually this father of this family was selected, and Maximilian Kolbe actually like took his place to be killed, like willingly. So that, you know, this father didn't have to die because he had family and, you know, kids and stuff like that. So what a great guy. I mean, to literally stand in the face of death and say, nope, take me instead, knowing that he's going to die. Like, what a scary thing. But we're called not to a life of comfort. We're not called to live in our little bubble where nothing goes wrong and we don't have to deal with other people's problems and we don't have to, you know, make any change in the world. Like, we're called to step out of that bubble. We're called to be uncomfortable, to change the world. People that stay within their comfort zone don't change the world. And so Maximilian Kolbe changed the world. He didn't stay silent. He took his place. And so he is definitely a role model for myself and for Nathan as well. There's a lot of really great saints. My confirmation saint is Saint Monica. She's amazing as well. So a lot of really great saints, but I definitely think like on a day-to-day basis, like Maximilian Kolbe and Saint Gianna are the OGs. So
Love that. That's wonderful. 1,000 bits, Magitech. Thank you so much.
This upsets Mr. Screwtape from the book club Hot Pikachu.
I shared the link in my book club.
You did. That's wonderful. Well, gosh, this is great. Chat, please, if you have any questions, and also Rachel's, if you have any questions, this is great. I've run out of things to ask. Emily, I just love how you very much dance between like very practical and also very wholesome and inspiring, and you bring the two together in such beautiful ways. I just love it.
Thank you. I have to be somewhat like, it's hard because I'm very like whimsical and I'm very like kind of fly by the seat of my pants, but then I have to be like super organized and like together, you know, so it's a weird balance, but I definitely appreciate that.
Well, of course. That's, I mean, I run a comedy game show. I definitely support being whimsical from time to time. That's great. This is great. Rachel's, do you have any questions?
I'll go with one. The film nerd over here. So you mentioned that you have this documentary and it's coming out. How can people go to see it? How can they support it? How can they share it with other people so that other people who might not be in this community or might not have like immediate awareness of it, how would they be able to share this documentary that you guys have created with other people?
That's a really good question. So first, I'll say too that our documentary is, like I said, we just got a little sneak preview and it is crazy. The director is the guy who did No Safe Spaces, which is on Amazon. His name is Justin and he's amazing. So we've been traveling around with him. So it's a crazy, amazing documentary. Like, I have never seen anything so professional. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can your camera pick that up like that? As far as like how, I have no idea. I am so tech challenged. I don't know if it's like a link and then like, or if it's going to be, I'm guessing it's probably going to be on YouTube, and then we'll be able to, we're going to share it on our social media. So social media probably is where it's going to be. I think we would be dumb not to, I think we're going to put it on our social media. Like, I think that's what we're going to do. Okay. Then we'll be able to take, we're going to be able to take a lot of promotional clips from it and stuff like that. But as soon as it's up, we are premiering it on the 27th. So that's next weekend at CPAC. I don't know if you guys are familiar with CPAC, the biggest like conservative pro-life conference of the year. I get the chance to be a panelist on the main stage again, which is cool. That will also be live streamed. I'll be talking a lot about Let Them Live. But yeah, next week it'll be premiering, and then I think we'll probably have a link. I guess. I know I'm not, I'm like, want to be like, oh, we'll have a DVD, but I don't think that exists anymore. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I will.
I'll make sure you guys know about it though.
Great. Sweet. Yeah. Maybe we'll have like a little Zoom watch party as a community. That could be fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would honestly be awesome.
Get your tissues ready. I am bawling my eyes out. So
I just won't drink water that day, and it'll be fine. It'll be.
Hey, that's my thing. I strategically dehydrate.
You had better all be drinking water and eating something.
Well, no,
No
I'm not going
dehydrating.
to.
Staffson, oh, that's my brother. When talking about Esther 4:14, you talked a fair amount about purpose. Do you distinguish between a person's purpose in life and their drive?
I would say so. I think I think a lot of people can find their purpose in life, but if you don't have the drive to do it, or Nathan and I were just talking about this, how you can know what you're supposed to do in life, but not do it. If you really wanted to do something, you would do it. I definitely think there's a distinction. I mean, I could have found out, hey, I'm supposed to start a pro-life organization, but then be like, nah, I just don't really want to do it, or, I just don't really have the energy to do it. I mean, every day I wake up and there's some days where I just don't have the drive that day. That doesn't mean my purpose changes. So I definitely think there's a distinction there. And that's something that you have to pray about as well, is to actually have the motivation and the gas in your car to actually drive. Do you know what I mean? Like, your car is the purpose and the gas is the drive. Like, you literally have to have fuel to do it. And I know that if everybody had the drive to fulfill their purpose, I think the world would be a totally different place. I really do. And so, I mean, it's a great thing to pray for, is for God to give you that motivation and that drive to fulfill what you're supposed to do on this earth. We're not here for a long time, we're here for something, and we have to get on that. So
I'm not here for a long time. We're here for a good time, but like a different kind of good, like, a purposeful good.
Yeah, exactly. I use that line all the time to convince Nathan to let our dog Rick. She loves sleeping with us, so I use that to convince him all the time to let her sleep with us. She's not here for a long time. She's here for a good time,
That's
so
amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, shucks. Great. Happy Priest! I was gonna raid you!
What does that mean? Is that
So within the Twitch world, if as somebody ends their stream and they've got folks that are hanging out, then you can just usher everybody over to another streamer so that they can continue the party. Hello to the Happy Priest crew. How you guys doing? How was Skyrim? Were you playing Skyrim, Father? And let me see. Let me give a shout out to the Happy Priest. Valheim. Oh, I've been intrigued by that game, gonna be honest. Sorry, I'm being a little bit nerdy here. This is a little bit atypical for interviews, I suppose.
this is cool. This is the first time I've ever done this, so hey.
Well, welcome.
This is cool.
If you are ever looking for, if you ever want to come back, please consider my channel as a home for you.
I'm pretty sure you're the only person I know, or you guys are the only people I know that do this. So I mean, you'd be the only one.
Well, great.
We're just nerdy as I've had. My husband plays RuneScape. I don't know what that is, but
That's a classic. I haven't played that, but yeah, that's a video game.
Yeah, Peter. About how much longer are we going to be? It's after 10 o'clock by me, and I'm falling asleep.
Oh,
so.
Rachel, if you need to dip out, absolutely. I want to give the Raiders a chance. We're asking. We're kind of wrapping this up, but if you have any questions for Emily and let them live, Emily, do you want to give a 30-second version for the new folks in the chat about?
So I'm going to peace out.
Okay, bye, Rachel. Thank you so much.
been really cool. So glad I met you, Emily. So, hi.
So my name is Emily, and my husband and I founded the pro-life organization Let Them Live. Essentially, we found that 73% of women have abortions because of financial reasons. So Let Them Live offers those women financial support so they can choose life instead and cancel their abortions. So we provide a lot of financial support to moms in those situations, like rent, phone bills, utilities, car payments. We actually just bought a car for one of our moms. Like her car totally crapped out, so we just got her another one, and it's really cool. It's a lot of financial support, and to see them choose life is just incredible. So it's amazing with what just a little bit of support can do for women that feel like there's no other option than abortion, and we can really help them to make that life affirming decision. So
I love it. Yeah, they're great. I will edit this interview and upload it onto the. I'll show it to you before I upload it. But
you can just, I mean, whatever's
you
fine.
Trust
whatever
me.
works
Oh.
for you. I trust you.
All the Rachels are nervous on your behalf now. But but great. So if you missed the interview, I will post it on YouTube. Look for Game of Favorites on YouTube, and this will be a slightly unordinary video over on there. I should get it up probably by like Monday-ish. I don't know. I need to do editing and stuff. But to the new folks, if you have any questions about Let Them Live, please, this is your time to shine. Also, Pedro and at Tempus Viator, thank you so much for the follow and welcome. Y'all are wholesome. Yes. You played a lot of RuneScape back in the day. Father, that's amazing. Yes. Oh, and thank you, Rachel, for providing context. You're very kind.
I'm pretty sure my husband doesn't think that priests do anything, so it'll be cool to let him know that you've played RuneScape. So,
Priests do a lot.
Priests do a lot. I know. I had this one priest back home, and it was my college graduation party. Oh my gosh, Father Gus, he kills me. And we were like playing cornhole, he's like drinking his like imported dark beer or whatever. And he's like about to leave. He like cracks another one open. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, it's just a road soda. I was like, Father. He's like, I just lived down the road. It's no big deal. And I was like,
Yep.
I'm like, oh my gosh, you'd kill me. It's just,
Welcome to the Midwest, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Midwest.
gotta have a roadie. So I'm
If you
all
don't,
right.
you're not drinking right.
Oh man, funny stuff. And the nuns too, the sister's wife, like when I was in college, they were like there was like a major blizzard in Denver, and I was like watching the news, and all of a sudden I see like two nuns in their like full dress cross country skiing to get where I was like, oh, that's Sister Maristoa. All right, that's a little weird. I'm like seeing on the news that they're cross country skiing. I mean,
I love it. Pope John Paul II used to sneak away to go skiing. Like he would sneak out of the Vatican and go on ski trips, and that's one of my favorite things about him.
I ran into
That's
two
awesome.
sisters at Disneyland in full habit.
Oh, you did?
Mhm.
That's amazing.
And I just, running into them is a really bold term. I was probably 20 feet away like this.
I highly recommend if you can ever travel with a priest, do it. They're the most fun travel companion.
I believe it.
The conversations are just so much fun because people come up who aren't even Catholic and they're just like, "Hi, Father, how are you?" Like so social with them, and I'm just like,
Love it. We were at the March for Life back when I was in college, and we had actually gotten like snowed in, so all of our flights got canceled, but we had to get back. So we ended up being able to rent these like two vans, and one of the priests, Father Rocco, he like has a sleep disorder, and so he just like doesn't sleep. Like he'll sleep for like a couple hours every night.
Oh,
So he's like, all right, we're just driving straight through, and we're all like, are you sure about that? So we're like all packed in this van, and the van that Father Rocco was driving, it was just like him, and then there's like 5 of us girls in there, and he speeds so fast, like he was booking it. We're like in the middle of nowhere in Kansas or something, He gets pulled over. Like, everybody is sleeping, right? Except for I'm kind of like half awake. So I notice we get pulled over and I'm like watching it all happen. And this cop is like shining his light in. And he like, I don't think he had his collar on. So it's just like this guy at like 2 a.m. driving like a van full of like 5 girls. And the police officer's like shining his light in. And he's like, so what's going on here? And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, he's a priest. It's okay. You know, like, we're just trying to get home. Like, I felt so bad for Father Rocco. He had stuff like that happen. Guy, I know, but it was a fun time. Road tripping with a priest is like, it's awesome.
I did a fundraising tour with a priest from New Zealand. That was down in the south, and that was. But I don't have any stories like that. That's amazing.
You know?
Yeah. I love it. That's wholesome. Okay. Well, I suppose I'm not seeing any questions coming up in the chat.
I think everyone just loves listening.
Yeah.
Like, this is the quietest the chat has ever been. I've gone to check. I'm like, there's still people. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of people here. They're just.
Jacob even stopped calling her.
All during the show, Jacob was like interrupting and calling Rachel during the show. When I try to talk, people don't listen. So if you want to come back more often, this is a nice change of pace.
Everyone's just
For
like,
sure. You can always have me. You know, if you guys haven't followed Let Them Live, this is my shameless plug. We're
Yes,
all
please.
over social media. We have a really good social media following, so it won't be hard to find us. You know, share us with your friends and family. I mean, the best way that we can keep saving lives from abortion is by just spreading the word. And, you know, I mean, I'm really proud to get to know you guys. And I'm really glad that, you know, I was able to talk about Let Them Live with you guys and just share some laughs. And, you know, anytime that you want to have me back, I am so happy to do it. We can talk to you guys about stories of moms, and I mean, we could talk about a whole lot for sure. We can talk about abortion in general. I mean, whatever. But this is definitely a very important topic, and you know, now's the time. So, if there's anything I can do for any of you guys, Peter, I think you dropped my email in there. So please reach out to me if you have questions or you want to volunteer, or just if you want to chat and you want to learn more about Let Them Live, just please do it. I'm always available. So.
Okay. Thank you. That's
Can we
okay.
drop it out again just for the new folks that came since the chat restarts?
Yes. Yeah, let's do that. It's Emily at letthemlive.org, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
super
thanks,
easy.
Rachel.
I already forgot it. So I was like, maybe someone else
I knew
did.
exactly where it was in the chat, so I just
Oh,
copied
wait, hold on. I
wasn't
got.
about to.
Hold on. I have links get auto modded, so let me.
Oh, I got you.
Twitch has its dark corners, and so we have like a lot of moderation settings to help keep us safe. You know how it goes.
Please ask for permission.
It's true.
Actually, from the way we started today's session, it probably should ask before it just says anything I suggest.
What? Yeah, anyways, I'm not gonna try to defend myself on this one. But goodness.
You don't have to. You're
Thank-
doing great.
Thank you. Emily, thank you.
Compliments when I win.
Say what?
I give out compliments when I win.
Yeah, great. Sweet. Well, cool. I suppose on that note, that might be all of our tricks for tonight, I suppose.
We're judging on midnight over here, so that's good.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Yes. Rachel, Aaron, Emily, and I are all on EST. So
I'm living the California life.
That's right.
Yes.
8 o'clock, I just want to eat dinner.
Yeah, that
I'm
will
just
be
gonna
good.
wait another 38 minutes and then have some chicken or something.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I have. That's a flex.
Have like 3 more hours.
But
You could
yeah,
wait.
Good.
Sweet. Yes, I would definitely love to have you on again. I'll probably brainstorm and
I just
send
have
some.
chicken reference. I'm a vegan, so I was like, why are you gonna wait until like just eat chicken? I'm like, oh wait, it's Lent, it's Friday. All you meat eaters over there.
I forgot that Ash Wednesday was a day of fasting until like 2 p.m. I was on Twitter and I saw a sister
At 6 p.m., I'm like, oh crap, I totally just like gorged myself. You know, like I totally.
It happened.
All right. Well, sweet.
Write it down.
Well, chat, thank you so much for being here. Let me see. Is there anybody online that will want to raid? Let's see. Oh, we could raid Abandon the Myriad. That'll be fun. Yes, we'll just, so the party will continue over there if you so desire. Chat, y'all are wonderful. And Emily, you all are also wonderful. Rachel's, you are also wonderful. Yeah, covers 1, 2, 3. Got all of them right, I think. Thank you so much, Emily. This was great.
Thank you guys for listening to me, and definitely hope to hear from you guys soon. So have a great weekend and enjoy your chicken soon.
Yeah.
All right.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Emily. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Yep, of course, guys. All right, talk to you later.
Bye.